Good afternoon and welcome to this edition of Border Report Live. My name is Rudy Mireles and I'm your host here in Harlingen, Texas, in the Rio Grande Valley of deep South Texas. We have got an incredible program lined up for you today. We're going to get to our headlines a little later in the program, but first we're going to start with a journey that Border Report has been following for 4 years now, and that is the trek of a young man from Pakistan who came to the United States seeking asylum, fleeing persecution for being a Christian in a Muslim country. We're happy to report his odyssey has reached a happy ending as he has just finished his formal college education and has finally received legal permanent status after being granted asylum. Our Salvador Rivera recently spoke with him, and he shares his story of perseverance and determination. Watch.
Thank you, and get set to hear an amazing story of a journey, a quest for asylum that began in Pakistan, traveled through Panama, up Central America, into Mexico, and finally into Central California. With us now is Nabil Yunus. Nabil, tell us why you felt you had to leave Pakistan.
Well, I was born in a Christian family, and as a Christian, our people are extremely persecuted back home in Pakistan, and everyone who belongs to a Christian faith, they want to leave Pakistan. And so in Pakistan, my life was always threatened, and I didn't feel safe in Pakistan, and so I felt the need of leaving Pakistan. When I was back home in Pakistan, I was issued a letter by the Archbishop in Islamabad in Pakistan. He gave me a letter to go to Panama, and then I got another letter from the Archbishop in Panama, and that made things very easy. And because of that, I was able to go to Panama. So I stayed in Panama for more than 2 years, and while I was there, I took some classes in Spanish, and I learned Spanish there. And while I was in Panama, I was adopted by one American family, and I stayed with them for 2 years. Americans who were retirees in Panama, things became very easy, but before that it was hard. I had to take care of my own finances. I couldn't speak Spanish because I was new there, and so it was hard initially, but things became easier.
That's when someone suggested Yunus and some of his friends, also Christians from Pakistan, needed to continue their journey all the way to the U.S.
So that's when this entire journey started. We paid someone to go from Panama to Costa Rica, and from Honduras to Guatemala, finally to Mexico. The journey, there were some areas which were very easy to go through, like Costa Rica was extremely easy. It was pretty much, 7 hours journey on a bus. But Nicaragua was a little bit harder because Nicaragua is a big country and there were a lot of jungles there. So we walked through jungles. We spent a lot of nights in those forests, and it was actually the late November, and it was extremely cold. So Nicaragua was a bit hard, and then Guatemala was easier, Honduras was easier, but Mexico was very tough. In Tuxtla in Mexico, and it was a very cold place, and we just slept in the open for almost 2 weeks, and that was the hardest time in my life. And then after 2 weeks, finally we got news that there was one trailer that was going from Tuxtla to Puebla, and we just hopped into that trailer.
Talk about being in this trailer for 16 hours. You once described it as the worst experience of your life.
That 16 hours journey in that trailer was indeed extremely hard, because the trailer was not very big, but there were a lot of people squeezed in that trailer, and the person sitting next to you was so close to you that you couldn't expand your chest properly to breathe, and there were no bathroom breaks, and it was almost like 16 hours just standing and nothing. And there was no way of getting a proper oxygen. A lot of people were passing out. And I remember that a lot of people, they would just urinate in their pants, because especially, kids and women, because it was like 16, 17 hours journey without any break. So that was indeed an extremely difficult journey.
From Puebla, Yunus and his friends made it to Mexico City. Then, as they tried to get to the border, they ran into trouble.
That's when we got caught. And then we spent almost a month in a detention facility, an immigration detention facility in Tijuana. The experience in Tijuana was definitely very difficult and very hard, because they were letting everyone out except us, the people from the Eastern Hemisphere, like people from India, Pakistan, Bangladesh. They were not just letting it out right away. And the food was not good at all, and most of the time it was like beans and rice every single day. And we stayed there for a month.
This is when Yunus was put to work as a free translator, keeping him from getting released.
When they came to know that I was able to speak both English and Spanish, they were able to use me in order to translate for Mexican immigration authorities to speak for those people who couldn't speak English. And those people who were speaking English, they would use me to communicate with the Spanish Mexican immigration authorities. So yeah, I translated for both, people who were detained and the officials in Mexican detention facility. So while I was in detention, it was very hard to get out of there, and the family that I stayed with in Panama, they reached out to Mr. Salvador Rivera. He got in touch with somehow Mexican immigration authorities, and because of that, in a week or two, we were able to get out of there.
What happened after you left Tijuana? Describe how you actually made it across the border after that.
People were telling us that Tijuana was not a very safe place for immigrants, and we need to get out of there as soon as possible. And so one night, it was like 10 p.m., we got a bus from Tijuana to Mexicali to go back to the port of entry. So instead of going to port of entry, we tried to jump off the fence that we did, and once we did that, we were apprehended by CBP, Custom and Border Protection, and they took us to their detention facility in Calexico, in California. And then I was first interviewed by the officials from the Department of Homeland Security for my credible fear interview. And once I passed my credible fear interview, I was released to my sponsor.
Life in the U.S. begins for you in San Luis Obispo in Central California with Fitzgerald Kelly. Tell us about why he has made such a huge impact on your life.
He was able to sponsor me. He signed all the documents that require some U.S. citizen or green card holder to sponsor you in order to get released from that detention. And so he was able to do all that paperwork to get me out of that detention facility. And he came to pick me up from San Diego, and he took me to San Luis Obispo, and I stayed at his house for more than 2 years.
Meeting Kelly was a great story on its own.
I was sent to Poland by the Catholic Church from Pakistan to represent, Pakistani Catholic youth in Poland. And on my way back from Poland, I was in Abu Dhabi. And while I was about to go on board, the air hostess, she told me that instead of sending me in economy class, the ticket that I had, she said that she was going to upgrade me to business class. And when she upgraded me to business class, my sponsor that later, Mr. Kelly, that later became my sponsor, he was sitting right next to me. And that's when, we started talking. And while we were at the Islamabad airport, his friend's flight was delayed. And so there was no way for him to go to his hotel, and then I told him that, okay, well, do you mind if I help you to get to your hotel? And we helped him to get to his hotel, and that's when, we became friends, and we stayed in touch, and we stayed in touch while I was in Panama, and later he helped me to come here in the U.S.
With Kelly's help, life began for Yunus in Central California.
Life in San Luis Obispo was actually the initiation of my life here in the United States. That's where I met a lot of my friends who later helped me to be where I am right now. And so, yes, that was actually the start of my American life and understanding American culture. Through the help of a counselor at Cuesta College, I applied to different universities, and I got accepted by Cal State San Bernardino and Cal State Channel Islands, and I decided to come here. But then I realized that, okay, well, if I work extremely hard, that I might be able to expedite it, and instead of finishing, traditionally 4 years, I can, work it real fast and try to finish it faster. And so I worked extremely hard. I took like 21, 22 credits. I was taking some courses here at this university, and then during the summer semester, I was also taking some classes at Ventura Community College and Oxnard Community College. So I was just driving back and forth from this university to a community college so that I can get as many credits as possible to, finish up my degree as soon as possible.
Please stay with us. We'll hear more about this amazing journey to the United States when we come back as Border Report Live continues after a brief break.
Welcome back to this edition of Border Report Live. My name is Rudy Mideles here in Harlingen, Texas, in the Rio Grande Valley of Deep South Texas. We appreciate you staying with us after the break because we've been listening to a young man from Pakistan who came to this country 4 years ago seeking asylum. Our Salvador Rivera has been following Nabil Younes's story ever since he arrived in the United States, and now we continue this incredible account of determination with Younes as he describes his legal quest for asylum and ultimately permanent resident status.
So my asylum process was definitely a bit lengthy, but it was not as complicated as I initially thought. So it started with you requesting for asylum to immigration authorities. That's when you initiate your process, and then you have a credible fear interview. That's when a DHS officer wants to make sure that, okay, you at least have a case before you can pursue any further. So I had a credible fear interview, and that was rendered positive. And after a credible fear interview, I was released. And when I was released, they put an ankle bracelet. That bracelet was on for almost 2 months. And once I secured an attorney, a pro bono attorney, they removed that ankle bracelet. And then a year later, I had a hearing, a individual hearing, or the merits hearing before immigration judge and went nice. And then he approved my case. And once the judge approves your case, you are an asylee, and then you get unrestricted Social Security. You have the indefinite permission to work here in the United States. And then a year later, after the judge approves your case, you can apply for your green card. And so a year later, I applied for my green card, and I just got my green card two weeks ago. Getting a green card is definitely a dream come true. I remember that it happened out of the blue. I was just here at this university working on my assignment when I got a call from my attorney that she had just received my green card, and she was definitely more happy than I was. I could definitely hear that from her voice. She was extremely excited, and so yeah, that was like totally unbelievable, and I was extremely happy because having a green card gives you security. That, okay, well, you are a permanent resident of this country, and then, sometime soon, you might be able to apply for your U.S. citizenship. So having a green card is definitely give you security. Okay, you are now a permanent resident. It opens a lot of doors for, a lot of opportunities, because there are some opportunities like I wanted to become an interpreter. And for that, it requires a Tier 2 clearance that comes with at least a green card. So not having a green card was keeping me from a lot of jobs which are extremely essential for the U.S. government. And I couldn't get those jobs because I didn't have a green card. And thus I didn't have a security clearance or the background clearance that I need for those jobs. But now, since I have a green card, I can secure those jobs and contribute to this great country in a more sophisticated way.
What's going on with your friends? They are in Colorado, right?
So my friends in Colorado, they're still in the asylum process. None of them have got their asylum status yet, except one friend, Cornelius. He got his case approved by a judge in Denver. So he got his asylum status, but all of the friends, they're still in the asylum process, and they were not able to get their interviews yet. I'm definitely worried about them. In fact, I have one friend who has to go to ICE office every other week to show them that he's still around. And I'm definitely worried about them because my friends, they're Christians like myself, and I'm always worried that if they're sent back to Pakistan as a Christian, they would be greatly persecuted. So I'm definitely worried about them also.
Was this journey, this odyssey from Pakistan, Panama, Central America, Mexico to Central California, was it worth it?
It was definitely worth it. Like, I can just imagine that I arrived by the end of 2021, and since then I was able to, go through community college, successfully completed. I came here at this university, successfully completed it. I got my green card. So what else can anyone expect? So I think that it was definitely worth it.
Why should the U.S. continue to offer and provide asylum to people like yourself and your friends and many, many others who simply want to be in the U.S. to better their lives?
There are some people who have legitimate reasons, like myself, people, especially Christians who are living in Middle Eastern countries, they're extremely persecuted there. And so it makes perfect sense that, they would come here and they would seek for asylum. Yes, for those people, I think that I could be a very good reason why the United States, this great country, should embrace them, because they are being persecuted and they are being killed in their own countries. And they definitely need safety, they need refuge. And so this country should, definitely accept them, because people like myself, we want to contribute to the greatness of this country. And a lot of those people, they're extremely smart, and they come here, they end up becoming doctors and engineers and, really good professionals, and they contribute to economy. And so the United States should definitely accept them.
Thank you, Nabil, for sharing your story over the years. We wish you nothing but the best. We know you will be great no matter where you end up. And please stay with us. Border Report Live continues after a brief break.
And welcome back to this edition of Border Report Live. Incredible reporting from our Salvador Rivera that you just heard, and what an incredible, amazing story of the journey of Nabil Yunus. Just an incredibly powerful and moving story, kind of perfect to go hand in hand with this holiday season. Time now to take a look at your headlines, at what's trending across the border. Starting with, to this day, voodoo dolls are used as spiritual effigies in Louisiana with the intention of providing love, healing, and other emotions. But this week, someone posted a voodoo doll that you see on your screen now dressed as an ICE agent. It was attached to a telephone pole in New Orleans. Now, you'll remember ICE agents in Louisiana are in Louisiana as part of the immigration operation called Catahoula Crunch. It is based in the New Orleans area. Now, the operation is supported by the governor and other political leaders in the state. A photo of the doll has been shared on social media. Louisiana Attorney General Liz Murrill took to social media to comment on one reaction to the photo. She stated, "You can tell the pro-illegal immigration radicals are losing the argument when they resort to ICE voodoo dolls and harassing the internet crimes against children task force in New Orleans," end quote. Many comments on the Attorney General's official Facebook page supported the dolls, some suggesting that more dolls need to be posted throughout the city. While a few are in support of the Trump administration operation, the immigration sweeps started earlier this month in New Orleans. Lawmakers in Missouri want undocumented immigrants out of their state, and they're hoping some legislation that would ban them from sending money back home will force them to leave the Show Me state. As Chad Mira reports, two identical bills would prohibit remittance services in the state.
In immigrant communities, it's not uncommon to see signs like that one offering money transfers. A lot of families use it to get money to loved ones in a different country. But now state lawmakers want to keep a closer eye on who's using it. State Treasurer Vivek Malik, state lawmakers, and the Lieutenant Governor met up Tuesday to announce a new plan targeting illegal immigration.
We want to drive these illegal immigrants out of here. They overwhelm our hospitals. They overwhelm our schools.
Two new bills have been filed in Missouri that, if passed, would prohibit undocumented immigrants from money remittance transfers.
Remittances are the lifeblood of any migrant community.
Immigration attorney David Cox says a move like this could affect families all over the world.
They are transferring funds to their family back home on a regular basis. And if they can't do that, they're not able to help their family in the way they need to.
Remittances are not just private family transactions. They are a powerful economic incentives tied directly to illegal immigration.
According to data provided by Malik, there were $200 billion of remittances from the U.S. in 2021. Most of that went to Mexico at just over $50 billion. But officials didn't know how much of that was from Missouri or from undocumented immigrants.
There's very little tracking around this, if any at all, within our financial institutions, because there's no requirement. And the point here is that our state laws cannot allow lapses and loopholes to allow our system and our economics to be exploited.
Bill sponsor Representative Ben Keithley said it'll be on the companies to verify immigration status before transferring money and then self-report. Penalties could include fines of 25% of the transfer amount and penalties for false filings. But Cox is skeptical about how it will be enforced.
They'll just ask someone who is documented to take that pile of cash down to Western Union or whoever is going to handle transfer.
The legislative session starts January 7th, but lawmakers have already started pre-filing bills. Reporting in South St. Louis, Chad Mira, Fox 2 News.
In other headlines, Pope Leo made his most important U.S. appointment thus far in his papacy. He named a fellow Chicagoan as the next Archbishop of New York to lead one of the biggest U.S. archdioceses as it navigates relations with the Trump administration and its immigration crackdown. Bishop Ronald Hicks, the current bishop of Joliet, Illinois, replaces the retiring Cardinal Timothy Dolan, who was a prominent conservative figure in the Catholic Church. Hicks grew up in suburban Chicago, not far from the childhood home of Pope Leo. And like Prevost, who spent 20 years as a missionary in Peru, Hicks worked for 5 years in El Salvador, heading a church-run orphanage program that operated in 9 Latin American and Caribbean countries. In November, Hicks endorsed a special message from the U.S. Conference of Catholic Bishops condemning the Trump administration's immigration raids, which have targeted Chicago in particular. Mexico and the United States have signed a new deal to try to stop the flow of sewage from south of the border into the San Diego area. Daniel Plant has the story.
With Mexican sewage currently poisoning our communities at record levels, this was the agreement everybody had been waiting for. The new deal between Mexico and the United States has now been signed at the highest levels on both sides. We had a chance to speak with the EPA administrator, Lee Zeldin, back in July when he first proposed this plan.
Holding their feet to the fires is how we got this quickly to this memorandum of understanding being reached today. Holding their feet to the fire in the negotiations that took place over these last few months is why we were able to achieve success at all 3 of our top benchmarks.
But in order to achieve 100% solution, Mexico needs to hold up their side of the bargain. The new agreement outlines a 13-point to-do list for Mexico, starting with doubling the capacity of the sewage treatment plant south of Tijuana.
We're going to look at and assess how they can expand the current SAB, right, the 18 million gallon a day treatment plant to like up to 43 million gallons. Water and the soil, so those...
As the mayor of Imperial Beach, Mitch McKay has seen the people of his community suffer for decades. Recently touring the Saturn Avenue hotspot with state lawmakers, this crisis has captured attention like never before. But even with federal, state, and local action on our side of the border, nothing will change unless it changes on the other side.
We have an administration on our side that's very focused on it, amongst other issues. But also on the Mexican side, we have a window of opportunity where we have alignment of politics between Mexico City and Baja California. And that's hasn't always been the case.
Even though the new agreement calls for a much faster timeline, every day that goes by is another day of poison for the people who live down here. And there is one very important issue missing from the deal. There are 0 consequences or penalties in writing if Mexico doesn't meet the timelines or breaks the agreement, as they have almost every time in the past.
My viewpoint is, while there are not specific teeth or consequences in the minute itself, I think the feeling or the impression is by all the parties involved that if things don't happen as we've agreed, that there potentially are consequences, and we know the current administration is not afraid to use leverage and pressure.
Dan Plant, Fox 5 News.
In other headlines, a plan to force soccer fans traveling to the United States to attend a World Cup game to disclose their social media accounts is drawing some pretty heavy criticism. Tourists from 42 countries which use the electronic system for travel authorization as part of the visa waiver program would be obliged to provide the information. The executive director of Football Supporters Europe told the Guardian website the U.S. government's announced plans are profoundly unacceptable. Freedom of expression and the right to privacy are universal human rights. No football fan surrenders those rights just because they cross a border. A CBP spokesman has said that the rule is not completely final. Before we go, we wanted to remind you that you can always stay informed on the story shaping the U.S.-Mexico border while you're on your commute home, maybe you're out walking the dog, or you're at the gym, because Border Report Live brings you real-time updates, expert insights, and voices from both sides of the border in podcast form. You can listen now on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and the iHeartRadio app, as well as the audio and video version on YouTube. And don't forget to check out our partners at Political Power Ranker. It's a weekly show tracking the movers, shakers, and rule makers in American politics. So make sure to check it out. You can find more on Political Power Ranker at abc27.com or your local Nexstar station's website. That does it for us today. For Salvador Rivera in San Diego, I'm Rudy Mireles in Harlingen, Texas. We'll see you all next time.